Welcome to the Activity Call Live. Now, let's hear it for our special guest host, Adam Katz and Alex Avian.
Woo! Woo! All right, gang. Welcome. I am Alex Avian, otherwise known as the Asian Persuasion. And we got my man,
Adam Katz, also known as the Hebrew Hammer.
All right.
And we're here to talk some business and finances with you.
That's right. We're going to tag team. We're going to tag team on y'all, and hopefully won't make it hurt too bad. Marvin Asuna the prophet, has shown us some moves. So we're going to do a little bit of verbal wrestling with y'all to get your minds right. And I am broadcasting remotely from Phoenix, Arizona at the great estate of James and Pamela Lara. So we've been hanging out here and having some fun. And we can't be more excited to come out to you. And we got some really cool things planned. I think, Adam, the notes I have here, Andy put down the 5 texts to send to your upline to make them think you're on the activity call. So the first text is, wow, this is the best activity call ever. The second text is, the speakers were awesome. And then the third one is, I'm going to implement everything they suggested. Number 4, I'm ordering Andy's book right now. Number 5, looking forward to getting my leads this week. I'm going to crush it. Right, Adam? So that's how lines know.
Yeah, that's it. What's helpful when sending those texts is that you can find out who the speakers are and actually put their name in it. That makes it look more legit as opposed to just copy and pasting it every week.
Now we got that out of the way. We'll see you guys later, man. Have a great week.
So now that's funny. That's funny. It's guys. Here's what I'll say about that is, I love the 11th commandment, which is thou shalt not fool thyself. Who texting us saying you're on the call when you're not on the call, saying you're doing things that you're not doing. You're not hurting the person who's working with you. You're not hurting your coach. You're only hurting yourself because until you can get transparent with the man in the mirror, you're not going to make the changes necessary to be able to move forward in business the way you want to move forward in business. And I know that is something I struggled with a lot because I want to act like I'm doing the right things. I want Albright to think I'm doing the right things without having to actually go through the pain of doing the right things. And until I got clear with myself on what the right things were and the willingness to actually sacrifice and go do, our business got very flat, very stagnant, very quickly.
Absolutely. It's amazing. The power of the human mind to rationalize every level of incompetence that you've experienced in your life just so you can feel better about being mediocre. I think, there's all kinds of addictions out there, right, Adam? There's alcohol addiction, porn addiction. But you know what? There's an addiction to mediocrity and brokenness. We all kind of come into the business with some level of that. And I think the great thing about the Alliance and what the Alliance is able to do for myself and Adam is to get us thinking differently out of that broke addiction and into wealth-mindedness and really getting addicted to success. And people think, success, Adam, is, all money and we're having so much fun. No, brother. No, sister. You have to drive through the dump, right, to get to the other side. You got to go through crap to get to the other side. And I think Adam and I, over the last, 24 years, about now, have experienced all those things, right?
Yeah. You think about like these professional ball teams and, the football team, they don't win on Sunday. They win Monday through Saturday. Sunday is just showtime. Sunday is fun time for the football players, but the work, what separates the champions from the ones who don't make the grade are the ones who put in the work when the lights are off, and it's just the grind of practice and film study and all of those kind of things. It's tough. One of the things Andy's been talking a lot about the concepts out of the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. He was talking about a lot at Breakthrough, and the idea of first of all, on the recruiting side, what he talked a lot about Wednesday, for those of you who missed it, was finding CEOs, not finding cashiers. We're not looking just for salesmen. Don't get me wrong. Somebody needs to sell the stuff. We're on board with that. And not everybody is supposed to have a big dream, but the ones who do, you're looking for leaders. You're looking to hire the vice presidents of your company. You're looking to hire CEOs. You're not looking to hire just cashiers and fry cooks, because you are the CEO of your company. And so through the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, you have two alternate versions of how to overcome problems and things like that. So Alex, I know we were chatting about, some common complaints we get from agents, and then we'll also talk about some common complaints we get from the builders. How about we just kind of hit on a couple of those and look at it from the rich dad perspective and the poor dad perspective.
Absolutely.
So let me hit you up with a couple of these, Alex, and why don't you give us the rich dad perspective on these? These leads aren't really working out for me too much. Nobody's ever home when I get to the house. My business isn't staying on the books. What are some things that you talk to your agents about? How do you kind of change their perspective on that mentality there?
Yeah, it's funny. They typically know how I think about stuff, but sometimes they really ask the question because they want me to make them feel better about what they're doing, And while that, preserving a relationship is important, it hits me because I remember, you and I remember when we were dialing leads and the frustrations of can't get people, you can't get anybody on the phone, and no one wants to book an appointment with me. And then when I book an appointment, no one shows up. Do these leads really work? And you're like doubting yourself. And what cracks me up is that the evidence is all around you, right? The evidence is around you that people are making the leads work. And so it's funny. I'll pull up the leaderboard or base shop leaderboard or a hierarchy leaderboard. I go, all these people are using the same leads you are, and they don't have the special leads, right? They don't have the special leads like Glengarry, Glenn Ross. They have the same leads you're working. So we have to figure out, okay, maybe there's something you're not doing that they can do. And really, I hit it from the standpoint of, now, phone dialing is not a big deal. It's a skill, It's a skill like any skill. Anyone can learn a skill. You just have to get your mind right about it and take the emotion out of it. Just hard to tell someone who's all emotional about it. But, so I go back to, so what did you do prior to joining us? Well, I was a roofer. Okay. So do you think roofing takes a skill? Well, yeah. Do you think you could teach me how to roof a roof? Well, probably. If I was willing to learn, right? Yeah, absolutely. Well, phone dialing is the same thing. You have to follow the script, but you need to do 1,000 dials to get there. Sometimes people want the shortcut, right, Adam? But it's just this mindset. I think overall, it's taking responsibility, isn't it, of that it's you. It's not everything else. It's not the environment. It's not who's in office. It's the man and woman in the mirror, okay, and it's me, and if you take responsibility for everything, then you have a chance to make it, because you can start working on role playing the script. You can start working on ordering a variety of different lead systems. You can take the responsibility of riding with another agent and sitting down with them in their office, listening to them dial the same exact leads you're dialing, and you'll find out that you're doing something way different, right, Adam? It's like, it's funny what do you tell agents when they say, Adam, I'm following exactly what Megan Wood's doing and I'm not getting the results. What do you tell them?
Well, it's the word exactly is a very strong word. So let's go through it. Let's go through one of the basic things one of the quickest things I pick up on is the idea of, just saying the person's name on the lead, when you're dialing things like that. It's, the top people booking appointments, they say the client's name 3 times in the first 18 seconds. And a lot of times we'll play with it, and the agent that we're working with, they'll say it one time, almost as if questioning whether that's actually their name, and then they don't repeat it again. And it's just like, it's those little nuances that are the keys to being successful. And you think you're doing it the same way, but you're not. Those of you who went to Breakthrough and had that little Tasmanian devil deal, we get distracted thinking we're listening, but we're not listening. And it's that mindset of, we play these games, the phone dance and Chinese numbers. And if you've never heard of these games, the ABC game, get with the person that knows these games and have them play them with you. They're going to frustrate you, but you're going to learn how to actually duplicate, how to listen and then duplicate. And when you do it exactly like Megan Wood is doing it, and you're doing it exactly like Joseph Dukes is doing it, and Bell Krause and these top producers, then you'll have the success. I think as much as any of it, though, Alex, it's the mindset. One of the things I've always discovered, talking to doing bigger meetings and things like that, people will ask, like an Eric Belair, hey, what would you say when they say this on the phone? And all the top people, they always say, I guess I'd say. And the reason they're having to guess what they'd say is because they're not getting those objections. Because what you'll find is we bring the objections on ourselves most of the time. And so if we can get our tone right and our pacing right and our mindset right, that, hey, all we're trying to do is find out when they're home, we're not trying to do anything else fancier on the phone than that, then it becomes a lot easier to do that. One last thing on that, and then I want to hear you, Alex, is, there's a difference between being broke and broke-minded. There's a difference between listening and hearing. There's a difference between acting like you're coachable and actually being coachable. Beth and I, we were broke when we were school teachers, and then Beth quit teaching, and we were trying to live on my school teacher salary. We were broke, but we were never broke-minded, because we always believed there was a better lifestyle out there, and we were going to keep fighting to find it, and we were going to keep grinding to get to that and to achieve it. And so I think all of that mindset stuff can be applied to phone calls, door knocks, showing up at people's houses. That there's a confidence that comes with it. Alex, how did you develop that confidence? How did you develop that swagger that helps you be successful with your mindset, knowing you're going to win versus hoping you're going to win?
That's a great question, Adam. I think early on, I just wanted out of my job so bad. I was willing to do whatever it took to get where I needed to go. And one great thing is that I had belief in Andy Albright, that he was going to help me. One thing that for sure is that he couldn't make a dime until I made $1. So why would he ever suggest anything that would hurt me? That's one of the biggest things. The other thing is that he's always taught me that, broke-mindedness can be permanent. Being broke is temporary. So how do you change the broke-mindedness is change your mindset. And the only way you change your mindset is by putting into action those things that people suggest to change your mind. Action cures everything. Positive action in the right direction will cure any ill that you have. And so here's the thing, the positive action is consistency in doing what they've recommended to do, no matter how I feel, no matter what results I was getting, just depending on that it will work. And that's how I earned my confidence. Dude, I earned my confidence through thousands of dials on the phone. I earned my confidence by going through many no-shows and then sitting down with people that wanted my help. I started getting this mindset that, hey, it's starting to work. There are things that it's starting to catch. right? But I did not have that at the beginning. All I had at the beginning was hope that what Andy Albright was teaching was going to work. And then I saw people around me that were making it happen. I thought, you know what, if I did half of what that person did, I'm going to get half the results, hopefully, but I can do half of what they did. If I could just do half of what they did, and I battled it every dadgum day. I remember one of my lowest points, like in the first 6 months of the business, one of my lowest points in the business, I went to Cincinnati to run appointments. I had like 4 appointments, and I had 2 no-shows. One person didn't even open their door, and then the last one I couldn't close for whatever reason, right? And so I am driving home, and I was mad as hell. It was like, man, this sucks. Why would God want me to do this if I'm failing? I thought God wanted me to do this because I prayed about it, and Andy Albright 2 weeks later showed me the business. Maybe God's messing with me. So, I get home, I park my car in the driveway, and I just could not go in. I had a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 1-year-old and a wife in that house, depending on me, going out there and fighting these battles. And I come home with nothing. And I remember sitting in my car for like half an hour, just angry at God. I was looking like, God, why? What are you doing? This is stupid. Why would you ever get me into something like this? And after I kind of shouted it all out, I really shouted it all out in tears, streaming down my eyes. I go in the door, I go up the stairs, and at the time, all our kids are so young, we put them all in the same room, just kind of like a nursery. So I open the door and I just watch my kids sleep and just watching them breathe. And you know what? I realized, I looked at them and how much I love them and what would I be willing to do for them. And then it hit me like lightning. It's like the way I'm looking at my children, God's looking at me the same way. And although I'm hurting, and although, I've got tears down my face, feeling like I'm a failure, He's looking at me and He's feeling the same way I'm feeling about my children. It just hit me like, He's got me. He'll make everything okay if I just depend on Him. And then I realized maybe I'm learning something from this. Maybe I'm learning that it's not always going to be easy. The road to Calvary was a harsh one. Jesus carried His cross. This is my cross. And I'd fight to do anything for my children. And I have God with me. And it just hit me like a ton of bricks, dude. It was like, you know what? God wouldn't lead me into something that I would fail in. He definitely led me in the business because this is an answer to prayer. I just have to have faith and believe. And it was that moment, it's like, okay, I got this. Tomorrow's a new day. I'm going to get up and I'm going to fight for my family again. And every day is a new day, no matter how I feel. And that was probably the biggest thing that made me realize perseverance is the key to success, because I know God's got my back, dude. So that's where I got my confidence from, is, up there, because I know that He's always going to take care of me. Like, I always ask people, when has He not ever taken care of you?
Right.
Tell me when God has ever failed you. Like, no one can tell me that. And then they say, well, you didn't answer this prayer. It's like, dude, when a son asks his father for bread, will he give him a snake? He won't ever give you something that would hurt you. And the analogy is, well, my upline would not do the same thing to me. He wouldn't give me a snake. He'd tell me what I need to do. And you know what Andy tells me all the time? Hey, just keep rocking, dude. Keep doing it. You need to tweak this. You need to do this. And then I just go out and do it. And you know what? I make more money. What a concept, right?
Right. Yeah, it's huge. It's that mustard seed of faith, that you're doing the right things. Trust yourself, trust the system, trust the teaching, trust the coaching, and that's the thing. We all have gone through it. If you're brand new or you're on your last, hanging on your last thread in terms of, is this what I'm supposed to do? Is this where I'm supposed to be? I promise you, every single one of us has had those moments of doubt, those moments of, what am I really doing here? Is this what I want to do? Am I ever going to get this to work? It's just crazy how our minds, how we listen to the snakes in our heads, and we all have those snakes in our heads. You're not that special. You're not the only one with the voices. We all have the voices. What we've learned to do at some level is quiet them down, and we've learned to quit listening to ourselves and start talking to ourselves. One of the things that Breakthrough was the blue cards. Where you write out your goals, 12 goals of what you want in your life, and I know that's near and dear to Alex's heart because that was a revelation for him. So we'll get to those blue cards in just a few minutes. But that idea that this is supposed to be easy, that this is not supposed to be something you're going to have to work through, is just crazy to think anything. You think about it like this: less than about 30% of the population is ever going to make a six-figure income in this country. If you just do the 8 steps to success, you'll make a six-figure income in this company. And
Right.
and so obviously, to be put in the top 30% of 330 million people, you're going to have to do something that most of the people aren't willing to do. You're going to have to go through stages that most people aren't willing to do. And, I love, Andy continually brings resources to us to help us clarify and see things. And, Marcus said his training, he talks about these 4 levels of competency that everybody's going to have to go through. So, Alex, I'd like to take a few minutes and kind of go through those 4 levels.
Please.
and get your mindset on each one of these. So the first one is unconsciously incompetent. Okay, meaning this: we don't know how bad we are. Any new skill set is going to take practice, and think about. I have a little almost 1-year-old grandson. Apple of my eye, and I love that little man, and he's learning how to walk. He hasn't walked yet. He's learned how to pull himself up, and and he really doesn't know how to ease back down to the ground when he pulls himself. He just pops down, and he is. We all will go through that stage where we're trying to learn how to walk, and we keep falling down, and we're going to bang our head, and we're going to cry, and we're going to have to keep fighting through it. But we don't give up. See, he's not going to give up. He's going to learn how to do it. And it's that unconsciously incompetent stage where we don't know the skill set, but we look at it from the outside in and think, I'm going to kill that. Because we see the professionals, we see the Terry Edwards, we listen to the trainings, and it's just like, I can do that. I'm going to kill that. And we don't know how bad we're going to be. So that's kind of the first level of growing your competency. Alex, what are some things you talk to people about to help them have that, okay, it's not supposed to be easy mindset?
Yeah, absolutely. What's interesting about that is I always get them to relate to, have you ever felt like, what are these other people doing? What are these rich people doing that I'm not doing? What are these successful people doing that I'm not doing? And it starts with that question, right? Because what that says is, that's the perfect question, because it says, like, me, what am I not doing? Because there's something I'm not doing that these other people are doing. And so that opens your mind to so many things, to receive what it is you need to receive to change that from that unconscious incompetence. So when you realize the things that you're not doing and how you need to change those things, then you move to the next level. And what's amazing is when I can get an agent to ask those questions, they don't talk about the leads. They don't talk about all these things. Like, I had an agent, he was invited, Adam. I got him invited to the cabin, okay? The elite agents that are invited to a special leadership to the cabin. And this is how I know I got a winner, Adam, because he calls me, he goes, Alex, I just want to talk to you. I've got so much sales momentum right now, and I just really don't want to lose that momentum. give me your perspective on going to the cabin. I know I got invited, and dude, I appreciate that. Just give me your thoughts and perspective. It's like, thank God. See, he didn't call me, Adam, and say, Alex, I decided, he didn't ask me what he wasn't one of those agents that asked me what, I made this decision. What do you think? He was truly open. Okay. The unconscious incompetence. He didn't know the value of being invited to a special event, even though in his mind he's thinking, dude, I can make these annuity sales, and he's killing it, right? And he's only been with me like a couple months. He's killing it, but he asked the right question. I need your thoughts on this, because I need to feel right about this, getting the monkeys in his head in line. And I go, dude, whenever you have a chance to get around Andy Albright and the top leaders in the country, you drop everything and you go to grow. And I said, I promise you, when you come back from that, you're going to thank me that I encouraged you to make the right decision. And I told him, Andy Albright has worked on this enough that whenever I have an opportunity to get around the top people, I don't care what I'm doing, I'm going to be there, because I'm going to grow from it way more than staying home and writing a few policies, right? And so that's what you're talking about, this whole idea. And thank God I found someone who's asking the right questions.
Yeah, it's who you are going to be 5 years from now is going to be determined by the books you read and the people you surround yourself with. A different way of saying it, in the book of Proverbs, which is a book inside another book, it talks about seek wisdom over gold. Running appointments those 3 days is seeking gold. You're chasing the dollar bill. You're chasing a commission. Spending 3 days with Andy Albright is seeking wisdom, seeking how you can get the bigger picture of the business. And it's going to, same thing's going to happen at NatCon, January 26th to the 28th, Los Colinas, Texas, which is Dallas. Everybody calm down. It's Dallas. Fly into Dallas. You'll be good. And there are going to be people who are going to be like, you don't want your whole team in that convention. You need somebody out here selling, making some money, and it's like, no, I need my whole team getting the wisdom so that we can be better as a team. And so that goes, and I love the fact what you said is so, because most people just come up to you and say, hey, I'm not going to be able to go to that thing. And it's just like, what do you want me to say at this point? You've already told me you've made a decision. So there's no discussion, and you're not looking for input. It's just like, cool. And then we're going to, and we're just going to follow that away and be like, okay, we're looking for coachable people, teachable people. We're looking for people who are going to ask. I've always asked Andy thought process before making decisions. I want his thought process. He doesn't make decisions for me. He doesn't make decisions for you, Alex, but he gives us perspective that we can't see because we're kind of tunnel vision in. This is why you call from the home. This is why you call your upline from the home, because you go down a rabbit hole and you can't see other options. Whereas your upline, who's not, engaged in the conversation, will just be, well, ask them this, ask them that, and it's different than that. All right. So the next level of competency. So we start off unconsciously incompetent. We don't know how bad we're going to be. Then we get to the next level, which is consciously competent. And we realize how bad we are, and this is where 90% of the people give up on themselves. They don't give up on the alliance. They don't give up on us. They're giving up on themselves, because we'll be okay. The alliance is going to be okay. Questioning whether the alliance works. I mean, that's like saying, I wonder if this McDonald's thing is going to survive. The alliance works. There's too much evidence to show you the alliance works. It's, will you work it? And when you get to that consciously incompetent stage where you realize you're not as good as you thought and your ego has taken a little bit of a hit, that's where the rubber hits the road. That's where you find out what you're made of, what's inside. I love, one of my favorite quotes from a book is out of the book. It's Randy Pausch, The Last Lecture. And he says, the brick walls aren't there to keep you out. They're there to see how seriously, how badly you want to get in. And when you're consciously incompetent and you realize it's going to take work, you're going to have to train yourself, you're going to have to go through that learning curve. will you stick through it? That's the stage that you really determine who you are. So, Alex, how do you talk to your agents, from a rich dad perspective? Because a poor dad would just be like, hey, maybe you ought to find something that suits you better. Maybe you ought to find something that's easier. That's what poor dads tell their kids. Rich dads, what do rich dads tell their kids when they get to that consciously incompetent stage?
Yeah, consciously incompetent. Your whole world, you start questioning your whole world. Am I really cut out for this? And that becomes a self-image question. Am I really cut out for this? And I think there are two aspects to it. Number one is, are they people of faith? It's funny, Adam. I run into Christians who are supposedly faithful. They believe that Jesus rose from the dead, but they don't believe that they can accomplish something that is just, in my opinion, a simple thing if they just do the work and get through it, bust through it. There's nothing in our business that you cannot overcome as long as you're willing to work, persevere, and coach with your upline to get better. We always have a solution for you to break through what it is. Thanks, dude. What it is you're trying to break through. What you have to do is realize that we can help you, and you have to get rid of that ego, because there's a self-protection mode that kicks in with people that they want to protect their ego. And so when they realize, man, I'm not good at this, then there's that decision. Do I want to get good at this? Or should I try something that's easier that I'm already good at? And I tell them straight up, I go, dude, you're good at being broke. I mean, okay, so let's just get to the truth, right? Let me ask you how much you made 12 months ago. What were you making 12 months ago? They tell me, I go, okay, what are you making now? Like before you joined us, 12 months ago, and then before you joined us. Is it the same? You go, yeah. So tell me, why didn't it change? And they'll tell me all the reasons. Well, I was at the job and they didn't, blah, 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 blah. I go, so if you don't change anything, where do you think you'll be 12 months from now? The same place. So what do you think has to happen for you to increase your income by 25%, 50%, double your income? What do you think has to change? Well, I guess what I'm doing. Ding, ding, ding. What I'm doing. And what you're doing is a product of how you're thinking. So Joe, Mary, what do you think has to change what you're doing? How I think. Ding, ding, ding. You win the prize. Okay. And that's the hard part. The hard part is changing how you think. But how you think is by changing what you do. Is that crazy? You change how you think about what you do, and then changing how you think will change what you do. So that's the kind of the decision point you got to make. It's a fork in the road, gang. If you don't make the right choice to change, you will always have what you currently have, and you will never go beyond. Because going beyond means going beyond what you're currently doing, dude. If I never changed in Breakthrough last year, when I went through Breakthrough, nothing would have changed in my business. I'd still be a junior board member. I'd still be like, why can't I get my agents to do anything? Why? And it's like, I changed 12 months ago, and I changed the way I thought about, tweaked the way I thought about certain things, which changed what I did. Now our group is just blowing up, man. I mean, because I made the decision to change up here. It was being conscious of my incompetence of what I had been doing. Right. And people say, well, you're already making all this money. It's like, dude, do you think it's about money? It's like, I have not impacted the people I should impact. And when I look at the last 12 months of the people I brought on that I've impacted their lives, like the person that's coming to Andy's cabin, I'm going, had I not done that, no one would have ever gotten the business with me. Because that's one thing, man. How do you follow a badass? Well, number one, you got to be a badass worth following, which means you got a vision, you got a work ethic that you're going to accomplish something great. People won't follow someone who doesn't want to accomplish something great. People don't follow someone who just wants to maintain their business and just keep making, 500, 700,000 a year. That's a lot of money. No, it isn't, dude, because I don't measure my success by money. I measure by how many people I'm impacting. I'm not impacting squat. All I'm doing is putting money in a bank account. It's so stupid. And I realized, you know what? I'm going to make a difference. I'm badass. I'm going to make a difference. People are going to follow me because I believe where I'm going. I'm taking a bunch of people with me because I'm going to help change their lives. And I hope that's the answer you're hoping for.
Well, yeah, no, that's awesome, Alex, and I love your passion. You hear it, and Andy always says this. Andy Albright always says, people who want to change fast. If they're not changing, it's because they don't want to. They're still dealing with something else in their lives that is keeping them from making the decision to change. And it is a decision. Now, the amount of time it takes to get to that decision could take a long time. But once you make that quality decision, it's a quality decision. John Maxwell says, decision making is overrated. Decision management is underrated. See, we've all made decisions. This year, it's the New Year's resolution thing. This year is going to be different. This year, and we make those decisions, but then we don't do anything to manage those decisions. We don't back it up. We don't create the habits that we need to manage the decision that we think we made, and so we never actually move forward on it. And Alex, talk a little bit about the blue cards before we go to the next level of competency. Talk about the breakthrough last year for you, and what you did with those cards, and the decision you made, and then how you disciplined yourself, created those habits to manage those decisions. How important was that to you?
Now, I've heard that all the time, Adam, about, goal cards and read your goal cards. And the great book, Goals by Brian Tracy, every time you wake up, write down those goals, and the goals that mean something to you are going to be on that goal card every time you wake up. And I tried that over the years, and it's worked, and but I never really stuck with it. And the other thing too is, when I think about the goal things that I've done in the past, they weren't God-sized goals. They were like human goals that, I felt pretty good I could achieve, right? I mean, I didn't make huge goals. I didn't, and it was sort of this fear that, what if I don't get it? Geez, that must say something about me, right? That fear of failure, right? And so last year at Breakthrough, I got rid of a bunch of junk, dude. I got rid of a bunch of junk in my head. And then I realized, you know what? I've achieved success in the past, but you know what? I could even achieve more. Even at my age, even at my level in the business, no matter what, sometimes your past can hold you down. Your past successes can hold you down. And that's what I was doing. And so what I realized is I let junk go. I let unforgiveness go. That was the biggest thing, was unforgiveness of things that had happened to me in the alliance over the years. I just let that kind of just grow, and it was eating at me like a cancer. And I got rid of that. And then, so at the end of Breakthrough, when you're writing down our goal cards, I was putting some pretty badass goals on there. It's like, you know what? I could do this. I really can do this. As God is my witness, with God's help, I can do anything with Christ who strengthens me. It's like, why don't I just believe that for once? I mean, it's a great saying. And I'll say it from stage because, why don't I finally believe what I'm saying? And I'm going to write these badass goals down, and I am going to read it every dadgum day. Like, how many of y'all out there that put those? How many of you stopped already? This is we're 4 weeks, 5 weeks out from Breakthrough. How many of y'all stopped doing it? You know what? I didn't stop reading it every morning. And here's what's crazy about that whole notion is everyone wants it to happen right away. You don't see any evidence of it happening. It's like John Maxwell says, we always underestimate what we can do in the long run and overestimate what we can do in the short run. I decided to play the long game, Adam. I decided, you know what, this is going to happen. I don't care if it's going to happen when I want it to happen, but it's dadgum going to happen. It's going to happen because I'm reading it every day. Boom. Our business exploded, but it didn't happen in the first 4 months, 5 months, but it was changing. Things were changing in me. My foundational way of thinking was changing, and I kept at it. And you know what happened, dude? is that God put people in my path because I kept faithful and I persevered in my faith, that I found the right person I hired to be the my recruiter and my onboarder. She's made a huge difference, and she had been singing with me in my praise band for a year. All of a sudden, the scales came off my eyes because I decided to believe what God told me, and then I just, oh, okay, well, let's hire you and let's see what happens. She made a huge difference. Then I started finding people that are calling me back, like the guy that I said invited to Andy's cabin. He called me back after 5 years doing captive insurance. He calls me back like 2-3 months ago, says, hey, dude, I really want to do this. I've been watching your videos and I think I'm ready now. You know what? When you are ready to receive blessings, God will give you the blessings. You know, the question I always had in the past is, why is God blessing all these other agencies, but not mine? I'm faithful, Lord. I'm doing everything you want me to do, but I was not ready to receive the right people in my business because I wasn't ready to mentor them. My vision was a tiny vision. Why would anyone want to follow anyone with a tiny ass vision? My vision became huge after breakthrough. I didn't find the people right away, but you know what, dude? I eventually found them, and I'm fired up. These last 3 weeks, I found some Alice's and Aiden's, dude, that, you know, and they're coming in. They're being attracted to my vision and to my purpose, and I just remained faithful.
That's awesome. Yeah, a lot of times what we find out is we're the blessing blocker. We're the blessing blocker because of our attitude, because of our ego, because of our pride, and we're not submitting ourselves one to his power, but two also to the system. You know, it's got to be my what did Leventovich say? At his engineering firm, not created here, not invented here, so it doesn't count. And so many people have that mindset. Quit being the blessing blocker. The blessing blocker. Quit. You don't even have to speak English to be successful here. Quit blocking your blessings. You know, we're always like, man, why can't I get a Mike and Noel Leventovich in my business? What did Abian do to? Well, he was the right person at the right time. Maybe you've had a couple like that in your business, and you blew them out because you hadn't developed yourself to be able to manage them. Because you didn't create the skill set in yourself to give them a big enough vision that they were willing to commit to. You know, it's ultimately it always comes back to you and the person in the mirror. You know, why did this person quit? I don't know why they quit, but all I can do is improve me. So maybe in the next time they won't. And even if I had nothing to do with them choosing not to stay, I got to. All I can do is fix me. You know, you talk about the goals and being and having those big ass dreams and all of that. The BHAG, as Brian Tracy calls it, big, hairy, audacious goals, God-sized goals that will outlive you. You know, generational goals. You know, what Andy Albright has always taught is this: you got to have big enough goals that it includes your team's visions too. So, like, if you got somebody on your team, let's say we got NatCon coming up, and let's say, hey, I want to bring 100 people to the national convention, but then you have somebody on your team that's like, well, I'm bringing 80. You only believe we can bring 100, and I'm only half your team. I guess that means I can only bring 50. You got to have a big enough vision and a big enough goal that your team's goals fit inside of it. And then as their goals start to achieve, your goals are growing as well. That's such a huge part. All right, so the third level of competence. So we didn't quit during the consciously incompetent part. We kept working, we kept grinding. We understood that practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. And if we'll get coaching on what we're doing, then, we have to evaluate. Evaluated practice will make perfect. So we fought our way through that. We survived where others won't. We kept persevering where others won't. And we get to the next stage, which is now we're consciously competent. We're starting to have success. We're starting to see that the activities are working. Oh, one other thing that you said that gave me a thought was this. One of the most frustrating parts about business in general, not just this business, specifically this business, because that's what we're talking about, but business in general is this. The results always follow the activity. The results always lag 90 days behind the activity. So you got to plant the seeds. See, we're called to plant the seeds. We're called to sow the seeds. We're called to prepare the land. If you want to be biblical, it's a biblical principle. If you're like, you guys are talking too much religious stuff. All right, it's a farming principle. Whatsoever you sow it, so shall you reap it. If you plant cucumbers, you're going to grow cucumbers. If you plant squash and you grow cantaloupes, you got something to talk about there. Okay, so whatever it is you're planting, your job is to, prepare the land, sow the seed, and take care of the seed. It's not your job to grow it. That's where the sun and the rain and the water. Now you can do things to help it grow. Keep the weeds out. Put some insecticide out there. Put a scarecrow up in your garden, whatever. But God's going to do the growing. Your job is to do the sowing. Okay? And so understanding that when you sow the seed, there's seed time and then there's harvest. The harvest always comes after the seed time. And there's the growing season. And the growing season is where people grow weary. The growing season is where people stop putting in the work. So they're doing the work, they're doing the work. The results lag behind it. And then they get tired of doing the work without seeing the results, so they let the work start to go down, and the results finally catch up. But now what do? We started putting in less activity, so the results, and we go through that constant waves of up and down because we won't stay steady. So when you move to this consciously competent stage, where you now know you can do it, this is where it's critical. Now, you still have to focus on it because it's still something you have to look at, and you gotta, if you don't pay attention to it, you're gonna slide backwards. You're gonna backslide in your testimony. You're gonna lose the momentum. Sorry, Alex.
I almost spit my coffee out.
So you're going to lose momentum if you don't stay conscious of doing the activities, because it's not unconscious yet, but at least you have the skill set now. So Alex, talk about people in that consciously competent stage and how we can help them continue to move forward and not drop the ball there.
This is probably the most fascinating stage that I see with agents, and you see them on the leaderboards. It's amazing to me because they know what they can do, right? They know that if they order this many leads, they know how much production they're going to get. And my question always is, well, if you get $500 worth of leads in a week, you know how much you're going to get for 500, and you're profitable and things are rocking. So I'm curious. It's an algebra problem, right? What you do on the left side, you get on the right side. So what would happen if you doubled that 500 to 1,000? What do you think you'd do on production? Well, they say, well, I'd probably double my production. Okay, so if you know you can double your production, why don't you? And that's the question that consciously competent agents have to ask themselves, because that points out the limitation of their dreams, goals, and visions. They limit what they can do. They already know what they can do. Now it's just watch, rinse, repeat, and do more. It's like the recruiting leaderboard. Look at the recruiting leaderboard. I go, oh my gosh, all these consciously competent people. If you know you can hire 3 people in a month, hiring 12 in a month is just doing 4 times more of what you were doing to get 12 in a month. And I promise you, you'll get double your results with 12 in a month than 3 every month in 1 month. And we have consciously competent agents that could go to 12, but they don't. And so this is a dangerous place, okay? It's a dangerous place where now it calls out your lack of vision, your lack of goals, your lack of what you want to accomplish in your life. It's fear of failure, fear of success. I don't know what it is. And this is the part that drives me crazy, because now you've got someone who is constantly competent. Now, everyone says, well, I couldn't do what Megan Wood can do. Yeah, you can if you did what Megan Wood did to get to where she is. She gradually got to where she is. She's a human being, gang. She's not a unicorn. She's a human being. You can do exactly what she's doing. But what's limiting you is you don't think you can, right? Do you think Megan has realized her conscious competency? She did, but you know what she did? She's competing against herself. She says, you know what? I only made 800,000 last year. I'm going to make $1 million this year. So she took that conscious competence and then kicked it in to the next level because her dreams and goals were bigger. So Adam, that's my spin on conscious competence. It's great, but then now it puts it on you, the agent who's consciously competent, to decide where do you want to take it, right?
Right. Absolutely. And treating it like a business, understanding that this is a business. And, I was talking to a brand new agent yesterday, who had, purchased a business previously. And then we're talking about leads, and, and it's like, if you've owned a business and you've had to have the brick and mortar or inventory and all these things, calling $500 a week worth of leads an investment, and name another business you can start for $500 a week or $200 a week or $300, whatever, sit down with your growing up line, the one who's coaching you, and you decide what between your goals and your budget and everything else, what you need to do. But the key is not buying the leads. The key is actually working the leads and understanding that, getting to that consciously competent stage where you're working it every week on a consistent basis, building those habits that Alex was talking about earlier, and knowing what you're doing on a daily basis. That's huge for you having long-term success with us. And what the top leaders on the leaderboards have done is they've grown their investment into themselves. They've grown their conviction level, their faith into, if they buy, instead of buying $300 worth of leads, if they buy $600 worth of leads, they're going to get better results. If they buy $1,000, and it needs to fit your situation. That's where coaching is so important. But don't be afraid to go all in on yourself, especially once you've hit that consciously competent level, because you have success. It works when you work. And then ultimately you get to the next level, which is unconsciously competent. And that's where it really gets fun. That's where you can wake up. You can shake Alex Abuyuan out of a deep sleep at 3:00 in the morning and be like, we already have insurance, and he'll automatically come back with, great, makes my job even easier. Because you know the lines you need to say, how to overcome the objections, whether it's on the phone, in the home, talking to a new recruit, talking to somebody who's been with you for 5 years that's kind of hit that wall and you're trying to get them past that wall. You reach that level of Zen. We'll say, you're out there in the desert, got that beautiful wall behind you. You just look like you're in a state of Zen right now, Alex. So getting to that state of Zen that will allow you, where you don't even have to think, you just react. And they talk about in the NFL with quarterbacks, sorry for the football analogies for those of you who don't like sports, but they talk about in the NFL, when rookie quarterbacks, they say the game started to slow down. And it's not that the other team started playing slower, but the quarterback started seeing things faster. And they stopped thinking and they just were able to react because the game was slowing down and they were unconsciously competent. They just knew what their next move was. Almost like a video game, getting them to turn and, spin and all of that stuff. And you'll reach that level here at the Alliance also, if you're willing to keep doing that work, maintain the association, get the coaching that you need to get. So Alex, talk a little bit more about hitting that moment of Zen where you're unconsciously confident on what we do.
No, what's really interesting is when at Breakthrough, remember when Andy was going through how you interview agents, right? And what you say to them. And I was thinking, how do I really do it? And I just do it like you do it. Like when you're interviewing an agent, it just happens, doesn't it? You're not even thinking about all the stages you're taking someone through, from how they're thinking about whether or not they should join you to they want to join you. And it's really interesting that sometimes you just have to hear someone do it, and they say, well, how do you do it, or why did you do that? I go, I don't know. It's like what Andy does. When Andy talks to someone, people are trying to chart it out. It's like, man, it's unchartable because he's so unconsciously competent at recruiting and talking to people and getting people to believe. Okay. Now, here's the thing with unconscious competence. It's a performance opportunity. It's for you to excel and perform and to create results. But it's not a duplicating opportunity. The duplication happens when you're consciously competent about why you're getting results. You can't duplicate unconscious competence, but what you can duplicate is conscious competence. So anyone who's trying to teach their agents, you got to teach them from that level. It's funny, like our top sales agents, the reason why they cannot find another producer like themselves, because they bring someone on, they say, well, this is how I do it, blah, 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 and they go through their phone script. They do all this stuff that's got all this experience and skill from 10 years, 7 years in the business, and they're trying to dump it on someone, and that person's going, they don't even know what you just said. And then they get frustrated because that agent's just not getting their results. Like, well, obviously they don't care, and then they move on. That's why some of the top salespeople just can't find another good salesperson. Where you operate duplication is that consciously competent. And sometimes you cannot teach all that you do. You have to teach how you got started that's duplicatable, that they can just start getting results. They're not going to get your results because they don't have your experience. But to duplicate yourself, you got to be consciously competent at what's working so that you can duplicate it in someone so they can get started making sales, because you got to get them a win. They can't do 25,000 in a week like you can, but man, dude, can you get them to do 2,000, 2,500 in a week? Because I promise you it's going to change their life. Don't try to put too much in them with your unconscious competence. Remember back to when you were consciously competent and teach those basics. Does that make sense?
Oh, it makes a huge amount of sense. I remember back in the day, Magic Johnson was actually a head basketball coach. And he struggled with it because he just didn't understand why his players didn't see the court like he saw the court. And it's like, dude, you're one of the top 10 players ever. Why do you think they'd be able to see it like you see it? And it's the same thing. We've talked some, a lot about a lot of the top producers on the sales side. It's the same thing on the recruiting side. What Alex Abuyuan is doing, what Andy Riddle has done and is doing, what Jason and Olga Mathis are doing. The top recruiters in the company, the top builders in the company. Not only are they recruiting people, but they're then turning them into builders. They're not just recruiters; they're builders. They're getting duplication from them, and the key. The key to that is understanding how to get people through those levels. They have mastered their craft. Now they know how to break it down and help people get to the point of mastery in the craft as well. That's the beauty of the alliance. That's the beauty of these calls. The TWCs, the product calls, the activity calls that we have access to on a weekly basis. Not only do we have access to them moving forward on a weekly basis, we have a whole vault, a whole Alliance Media app full of the historical calls that you can go back and listen to. So if you're brand new, don't just listen to this one. Go back and listen to the previous ones from years ago as well, and you'll see a common thread throughout all of it. Alex, why don't you wrap this call up? I've had a blast co-hosting with you. I think this is our third call together since Breakthrough, and just have a blast. Always love hanging out with you and Jenny, and just hopefully we added some value to some folks who were listening today. And if you would just go ahead and wrap up the call and give people something to do as they move forward.
Something to do. Well, thanks, Adam, man. I appreciate it. I love hosting call with you. You have given me some of the best talks that you've ever done and inspired me. So I thank you over the years. You've been, inspirational to me and you and Beth and your family. And that's your grandparent. I'm not one yet, but I can't wait to, well, I can't say I can't wait to be one, but I'm looking forward to being one.
Yeah.
Gang, look, man. Adam and I have been through the ringer. We've been through a bunch of stuff, and you can too, meaning that you can become successful by going through all the junk that we went through. You know what? Sometimes we want to protect our children from going through crap, but you know what? Children never know how to handle negative in their life if you don't teach them how to handle it. If you try to take away negative, then you've really hurt them. Right. And that's like in our business. You're going to go through negative. What we need to do is help you learn how to get through it so you can persevere like we did, like Andy taught Adam and I to persevere. And sometimes it wasn't the things you think. Sometimes you think it's encouragement. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's telling us what we needed to hear, when we needed to hear it, in the way that we needed to hear it for us to move on and get past all the crap. You have that opportunity here in the Alliance. Number one, we care about you. Unconditionally, we care about you. So we're going to give you everything that we have to help you become successful. We're going to give you the events. We're going to wrap everything around how much we love you and care about you. Okay. The question is, are you going to take us up on it? Like really believe that we're going to be there? But Alex, my upline never answers the phone. Well, guess what? Why don't you call his upline or her upline? And if they don't help you, call the next upline. I don't care how deep someone in my organization needs help. I get calls from people way deep, and I don't judge their upline. It's like, okay, what can I do to help you? Right? That's what the Alliance is all about, gang. So here's the next thing you need to do. Sign up for national conference. But Alex, I just got in. Sign up for national conference. But Alex, no buts. If you want to be successful, commit to coming in January. Well, I don't got the money now. Put it on a payment plan. Put it on your mama's credit card. Okay? Sign up for national convention and then make that decision the right decision by putting in the work and doing it. Here's what I would say. So do that. Then the second thing is call your growing upline and ask them 2 questions. What do I need to do next? And the second question is, what do I need to change about myself to move on? Those 2 questions will make all the difference in the world. God bless you all. Adam, love you, man. Let's rock, gang. Let's do this thing. Big vision, big purpose, big work. You can make it happen. God bless.
Thank you, Andy Albright. Appreciate letting us host.
Andy. Yep.